But it makes me feel like if I don't get in now and found an AI startup, then the only place I'll be able to get a job in the future is off colony as a grub worm farmer. It'll be cheaper to send me to Mars to spawn protein alternatives than to send a robot, and I'll essentially be disposable labor. Welcome to Pray for Rain. I am your host, Jack Willis, and today I come to you live and alive from frigid Brooklyn. We've had a recent blizzard here, but I continue on ever forward with cup of coffee in hand, so things are good. I've been thinking a lot about how the speed of AI is ramping up and it's increasingly terrifying everyone. There's this interview that came out recently. I think it's the head of AI at Microsoft, and he was talking about how in 12 to 24 months, and it's always terrifying when they use months instead of years now, AI will essentially be able to do all of the tasks of a white collar worker, all of the activities that compromise their job. And who knows if that's actually true? I certainly don't. But it's added to the conversation heating up and making everybody terrified. But one thing that all of this AI thought and talk does to my brain is that whenever I think about AI and what it's going to do, my mind goes, it starts out thinking about all of the potential opportunities of AI, and then I move to guilt because I'm not able to take advantage of those opportunities, and then shame, and then absolute terror because I have no idea what the future will be like. And I'll start off by thinking about everything I could do with AI to make money. And I usually don't get very far because it's such a massive possibility space and I have a tiny brain. But I'll think about it and I'll think, man, how am I going to use this to become wealthy? And you see all of these interviews with CTOs and billionaires who say that in the next 5 years, AI is going to make more millionaires than ever before. And my brain sees that and it says, come on, Jack, think, you asshole. Didn't you hear him? We're going to be minting billionaires. Don't you want to be a trillionaire? And yet, I only get as far as scribbling down some note on a Post-it that says AI for scooters or something unintelligible like that because my mind has exhausted all of its artificial intelligence power. And I can remember being with my friend at Barton Springs in Austin. This was a couple of years ago. It was a beautiful day. It was 85 degrees. It was sunny. There were people swimming in this beautiful spring-fed public pool. And we were sitting there just racking our brains. And we couldn't get past the fact that other people at that very moment, while we were leisurely enjoying the day, were thinking of ways to use this technology to become super rich. And we couldn't think of anything. And it drove us insane. Like, why can't we get this straight? It's right there. I just have to point this thinking machine in the right direction. And yet I couldn't. And I would imagine that there's a good number of people that feel the same way, like this kind of latent frustration that you can't just point this thinking machine towards something that's going to generate incredible wealth. And that's where the guilt sets in. My inability to take advantage of this stuff. The species changing technology that's being positioned as the last gold rush. And I feel like some of that's true. Is that true? I don't know. But it makes me feel like if I don't get in now and found an AI startup, then the only place I'll be able to get a job in the future is off colony as a grub worm farmer. It'll be cheaper to send me to Mars to spawn protein alternatives than to send a robot, and I'll essentially be disposable labor. But what if I can't think of anything to do with AI? Am I doomed to be on the outside of the walled garden forever? What if I can't use it enough at my job? Which is the other part of this, because they'll say that AI is not necessarily coming for you, but somebody who knows how to use AI is. And that also seems like maybe that's true, but do I have to? Someone tell me that I don't have to use this, or please tell me that I can actually use less technology in my life. I'm waiting for that email to come along. Um, but what does it feel like to be a Gen Z right now? What does it feel like to be a Zoomer? If I was younger, I feel like there would be a decent amount of nihilism creeping in to my psyche. But can somebody give me a cultural temperature for somebody entering the job market? Because the conversation is making it feel a bit bleak. And I had talked to this woman who her brother was around my age, so about 33, and he had decided to leave his job and change careers. So he was an animator, and for whatever reason, I think he wanted to get closer to technology and he wanted to become a software engineer. So he was a few years into that journey, and the counselor for the School of Engineering, they meet with their students, and he had a meeting with the counselor. And they had obviously been keeping their fingers to the pulse of what AI is doing with the world of software engineering. And the counselor told him, she advised him to change majors, which is wild. And they were doing that for a lot of the people in the engineering program, just telling them, hey, you should switch to something else because AI is taking all of these roles, which is like telling all of the construction industry that they need to start daycares or something like that. That's just totally brutal and scary. What is it like on a college campus right now? Is it just AI all the time, everywhere? Do they need you to integrate AI into absolutely every field of study? Are they recommending that you go to something that isn't close to technology? I'm struggling to think of what AI doesn't touch on a college campus, like sampling mollusks for marine biology. I don't know. But it's an interesting position to be in now for a lot of us, because if you're in white collar work, I would imagine that a lot of people are being confronted by the fact that you might be replaced by a computer for the job that you didn't really want to have anyhow. But now you need to get an AI certification to beat out both the human and the machine, which is great. I think everybody had wanted that when they signed up for this. What do we do in the face of all this? That's the real prisoner's dilemma here. Because if I don't say, oh, I need more coffee. If I don't say, oh, totally, I'm an AI native, I use cloud code to make prototypes for dogs, then some other jackass will. And an employer wants somebody who's going to save them from being swallowed by another company who's going to use AI. I've got to say that I use it so they feel better about not getting eaten. And it's business as usual, but just at light speed now. And I wonder if the AI era, well, I want to think about some potential benefits that could come from this because it seems so scary right now. But I've been wondering if the AI era will produce a renaissance of the American small business. If these massive corporations are actually going to shed these huge numbers of jobs, and would we see people starting to form small businesses again? And I think that the starts of U.S. small businesses or small businesses founded over the past 30 years is way down, although I'm open to correction on that. But I thought it was a combination of bureaucratic blockers of getting into industries, and maybe that corporations are soaking up more of the American workforce and market share. Anyhow, if that technology is going to take away a lot of white-collar jobs, maybe there's more opportunities for doing maybe there are more opportunities for doing boring businesses at a local level, which I'm going to be honest, it doesn't sound as sexy to open up a pipe fitting business in Toledo compared to working at Google. But who knows? Maybe there's some greater fulfillment for serving a local community there. But maybe there are some good unintended consequences for local economies. And one thing that does give me hope is that there will always be a market and an interest in human-made things, human perspectives and human goods. That will always exist because the one thing that human beings find most salient is other humans. It is a biological imperative. That's why we're constantly doing any of this. It's the clothes that we wear, the cars that we buy. They're often just signals to others in our species about how we want to be perceived. Nobody gives a shit how the squirrel thinks you look in a new sweater. We care about human perception and what other humans say and think about what we create, how we see them and how they see us. And if we're to map this onto the dog world for a moment, we're smarter than dogs, most of us, anyhow. And a Maltese can't comprehend what a shoe is or how a desalination plant works. We are gods to them. We manage pretty much everything about their lives, and we produce miracles for dogs. And yet, for a dog, there's nothing like being around another dog. That feeling of being in a dog park or just chumming it up with the other dogs in the pack is something that we can't simulate for them. It's in the DNA. And you know what stick that a dog wants? It wants the stick that the other dog has. And humans are the same way. We want the thing that another human being has. It is an anthropocentric economy. And it seems like we may just have to lean into that idea more. Just things for humans, by humans, all the time. A human was involved in the making of this, and that will provide more value. It will be perceived as being more valuable, and we will want it more. But the trick, obviously, is going to be able to tell if the human made the thing or not, or at the very least, how involved they were. How human is it? And I think about this all the time too, because there are articles that you have read recently and liked that have been totally written by AI, or some talking head on YouTube and Instagram where the script was produced entirely by a computer and you just didn't know it. You watched the video and you thought, like, that's really interesting. This person is pretty insightful. And they're not. They're full of shit. They were a ventriloquist with Claude's hand shoved up their ass, and there are going to be entire careers based on this kind of deception. I don't know exactly how we vet for this kind of stuff yet. I feel like we're going to need some sort of live Coliseum event where anybody who's become a prominent voice in culture has to answer randomized questions over alligator dunk tank so we can assess if they've been lying or not. But time will tell how we actually go about that process. I don't know where any of this is going yet with AI, but if we get together with other humans to do things for humans, there will always be an economy for that. There will always be purpose in that. And it will look different, or it might look different than what we were expecting, but it will never go away. We'll always be interested in the lives of others and the perspectives of our species. And when things feel really bad or big or scary to me, it always helps to think in the micro. I want to think about my city, my neighborhood, my block, the little world around me, my corner of the earth. Can I start a business or a club or an organization that serves that part of the world, my little corner? I think so. I think that will always be on offer. We'll always be able to do that. Things are rarely as good or as bad as they seem. We don't know the future, and it's not written that we're going to be living in cardboard boxes, mopping up the floors of data centers. There will be new opportunities that we haven't anticipated yet. There will also be fresh terrors, but we will deal with those as they come, and we'll need each other to deal with them. But anybody who says that we should just totally make way for these entities because they'll eventually be smarter than us can go f themselves. They're not going away. It's just like the internet. It's too powerful. They're here to stay. But this is our planet, and until we know that these things can suffer, their sole purpose should be to support human flourishing and the flourishing of our planet and species. And in case anybody needs reminding, human life has tremendous value. These things can never know what it is to be human. Never. They can describe it, they can pretend at it, they can reflect it back to us, but they can never actually know. Just like I can never know what it's like to be a dolphin. Think of what it is to be born. Think of your mother. She birthed you, she carried you in her belly for 9 months and brought you into existence. You were grown, which is pretty wild. You have brothers and sisters and children and friends and people that need you. And that's one of the main differences between us and them. We need each other. There's someone in your life right now where if they died, it would absolutely devastate you. Your world would be much darker forever because of that. We need each other, and we need each other to feel happy and excited and fulfilled. And you need other people to have fun. Like, watch a movie by yourself and then watch a movie with some of your friends and tell me which is better. Go to dinner by yourself versus people you love. We are intensely social as primates, and we need to resist this technology atomizing us or breaking us into factions or making us less social. We need to lean into that. These machines cannot and will not take the feeling of being around other humans away from us. And the future seems scary and uncertain right now, but the best way that I know how to deal with that is just not by myself. We need to circle the wagons. And unless we want to be playing the largest role-playing game of Sims ever invented, we are going to need one another. We're going to need humans, and we're going to need people. So I don't want there to be any kind of species war against the clankers yet, but we're going to need each other, and so we need to gather around. Now I need more coffee before I move on. The other thing that I was thinking about recently, or a piece of news that really sucks, is that Robert Duvall died recently. And that is sad because he was one of the greatest to ever do it. It's not tragic, I don't think, because he was 95 and ostensibly lived a good life. But this celebrity death feels different to me in some way. Our makeup of actors is constantly changing. People die, they retire, they fade away for whatever reason, and new actors take their place. But it just feels different with this generation that is now sunsetting. If you just think about the heavy hitters that we've lost recently. So we lost Robert Duvall, Gene Hackman, Alan Arkin. Like, what happens when Pacino dies, Denzel, Jack Nicholson, Meryl Streep, Gary Oldman, when they go? That is a serious changing of the guard. And it makes me think that we are really so spoiled these past decades with incredible movies and this pantheon of fantastic actors. I had asked my mom to name the most famous actors today that she could. And she started with Timothy Chalamet, and then she said Jason Momoa, and then she kind of sputtered out after that, which honestly I kind of get. I mean, I can name more actors than she can, but it doesn't feel like there's the same retinue of serious actors who can carry all these lead roles. And this is part of my favorite drum to beat. There just aren't the shared cultural touch points to support the heavy hitters like there used to be. Our attention is atomized across Instagram and TikTok and 107 different streaming platforms instead of focused on one box office, which makes me sad. And I was thinking about it the other day that acting is like any other profession or skill. The more you practice at it, the better you get. So I was wondering are there just fewer opportunities for actors to practice their craft now because there are fewer movies? I mean, I'm open to being corrected on this because I think there's more TV, so that probably changes the dynamic a bit. But there are certainly drastically fewer movies of certain genres. And that makes me think, okay, do certain actors just not get to practice their craft with these movies like we had in the past? And it also, a lot of modern movies pre-select for a certain actor of a certain stripe. a good number of the movies that they make now fall into this bucket of cross genre kind of multiverse crap, I would say. And sometimes they don't ask a lot of an actor because if you watch those things, they will cut away or they will cut every 3 seconds. Your eye has 1.65 seconds to take in some mediocre performance sometimes before it cuts away. And if you don't do a great job, or the emotional weight isn't there, well, it doesn't really matter because they're gonna cut away, and they will paper over that, and you'll just see the performance of the actor of the time it takes for an atom to pop in and out of existence. And I was thinking that the state of the industry has got to just be killing Roger Deakins because I think it was him that really pioneered the idea of not doing any kind of unmotivated camera moving or cuts, not moving the camera. And it seems like we've gotten so far away from that now. But the genre, the genre space has narrowed for sure. We don't get as many pure comedies, which I think people recognize, and there are a lot of industry reasons for that, but we don't get as many serious star-driven dramas anymore. What happened to movies like Zodiac? I just watched that the other day. I think it was made in 2006, and that movie was just batting 1,000. It was a star-studded cast and a serious story. It was incredible, and it wasn't constantly trying to subvert expectations. Zodiac felt real, and that's what we don't get a lot of anymore. This realism that draws you in, and it had serious actors to carry the movie through. What about Prisoners? Remember that one? An incredible, incredible movie. Now that's Villanueva, so he's one of the greatest to do it as well. So it was a high standard, but it was a harrowing film that never tried to make fun of itself or recreate the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack to manufacture some cultural moment. It was just cold, hard storytelling and acting. Cold Rolled Steel, an incredible movie. And I'm going to preface this next series of thoughts by saying that A24 is one of the bright spots, the few bright spots in the movie landscape today. They make some really great stuff. They also finance a lot of really great work. So I'm very appreciative of that institution. But, I do think that it is producing this odd trend in modern movies, which I would call the A24ification of movies. And the A24ification is this phenomenon where movies will now use a grab bag of cross-genre surrealism because it reads as totally novel on paper, which it is, but it then releases the movie from any kind of consequences or internal logic in itself. And sometimes it's worked out really well. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once was a great movie, surrealist bending film, but it's centered around this really solid story of a mother trying to help her daughter. But this movie really inspired a lot of movies to now just vomit out Mad Lib scenarios on screen because it feels new. So it's technically a scenario that has never been before, but it's also exhausting at the same time. And I'm thinking of a particular recent example of this. I just saw Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. And how would I describe that movie? It had a lot of fun parts to it, for sure. And I love Sam Rockwell. He can do no wrong in my mind. And there are going to be some spoiler alerts here. But a lot of the movie to me just felt like one silly what if scenario after another. It was like if Tim and Eric did an episode of Black Mirror. Like, what if a homeless guy comes back in time to save us from AI? What if a girl is allergic to Wi-Fi? What if teenagers are TikTok zombies? All of these zany and wacky scenarios tossed together, which increasingly confused me and made it so I didn't feel like there was like any internal logic, or I was just disoriented by what came next. And there wasn't really any internal logic. And it's probably, it wasn't meant to be a super serious film. So some of this is a little unfair, but there were some moments of the human condition where they wanted to have some true emotional gravity. And those moments felt fleeting because they really wanted to cram in the next otherworldly scenario after that. And when a movie is ridiculous and reality bending in the macro, it always makes it feel fake in the micro. The small scenes where there's supposed to be like a fight in the kitchen feel goofy and predictable because the movie isn't about that. It's about getting to the next Twilight Zone sequence. So it makes a lot of the in between moments feel really fake. And in Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, Rockwell takes these people hostage from a diner, and he takes them hostage in order to like bring them along to plug in the safety protocols to the AI that hasn't really been invented yet. And he gives them some reasons to come with him. Like he's got this bomb vest, like, hey, you better come with me or else I'm going to blow us all up. But as he collects people and takes them hostage to go stop AI, there are just infinite ways where they could escape or really flimsy reasons why they would come with him. And you're watching this thinking like, well, why didn't you just walk away? Like he was gone, or wouldn't you do this? And just kind of ad nauseum little things like that where I thought, okay, this is a pretty ridiculous. You could have the ridiculous scenario, but give the smaller moments some more thought or some more gravity, so it kind of pulls us along. And the team of people that he collects is just kind of following him around. They shuffle around like the gang running from Ghosts and Scooby Doo. It's just really silly all the time. And the movie was a bit of a mess with all of these time travel and physical AI metaphors, which didn't really feel true anymore. It's this 9-year-old boy who ends up inventing AI, sitting on top of like a 50-foot pile of Ethernet cords. Like he's sitting in this room, like just typing away on a keyboard, and they've got all of these Ethernet cords like spinning around in a tornado. So it was really weird. But the whole thing is Rockwell's trying to bring on his cast of characters to plug in the safety protocols into this AI project. And one of the gals that he's with, who's allergic to Wi-Fi, she's got some fun parts. But she comes in and she grabs the cord, and she's got this little data box, this hard drive that has the protocols, and she's trying to plug it in while the Ethernet cord storm is going on around her. And she's almost there, and you can see that she's holding. They ended up plugging it in, but she's holding an Ethernet cord, or not an Ethernet cord. She's holding a HDMI cable to plug it in, which I thought, well, that's audio and video. I don't think that's really going to carry all the data for the safety protocols that you were thinking it would. So at least in my memory, it was an HDMI cable. So if that's true, I think that was kind of a funny little oversight. And like I said, some of the character vignettes are fun for sure. But when the novelty of these types of movies wears off, like the newness of these wacky scenarios, they rarely have the internal logic or seriousness in the in-between to act as the sinew of the movie and to kind of keep me coming along. And if you were to give a brief description of the acts of these kinds of movies, they would lose a lot of their luster because the novelty is gone and you don't have the surprise. But if I told you the plot to Prisoners, or I gave you an act by act, like pretty specific description, it wouldn't really matter. It'd still be a great movie because you'd still have these really tense scenes, incredible acting to watch, and this seriousness and realism that pulls you in. Now, some of this is apples to oranges. I get it because these are different styles of movies. And Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die was meant to be more fun and zany. I get that. So what am I saying? I guess I'm just saying that I miss serious movies, and I'm a little tired of my expectations trying to be subverted all the time and to come up with psychological scenarios we haven't heard before. I just want a serious movie again. I want a No Country for Old Men, or a Zodiac, or a Man on Fire. I want something to convince me that what I'm seeing is real, because I already walk into the theater knowing it's fake. And when it just gets more and more ridiculous all the time, it's just making my brain's job harder, and I wonder. So if you're going to make a surrealist movie, or some movie about a secret cabal of tech bros who hunt orphans for sport, Okay, do that, but give the movie some internal logic. Just help me out, please, and that would make my movie going experience much better. Okay, movie rant over. I've got some work that I need to go do and some snow that I need to go shovel. So I'm going to finish the rest of this coffee, and then I'm going to brave the cold and the snow of Brooklyn right now. So until next time, I am praying for rain.